Hello everybody. I hope you're all doing all right. Next image is by Joanna, and this is a lovely image of some deciduous trees with fog kind of behind them. So the fog is always nice in woodland photography because it really separates your subject matter and it creates a lot of depth. Now, Joanna has supplied me with a JPEG of how she approached this, and I really like the way that she's done this. It looks like she's cooled down some of the tones in the background and then warmed some up, and the warmer tones tend to be where your eye is directed. Cooler tones tend to recede, where warmer tones tend to come forward. So rather than copy what she has done, I'm going to go about this a totally different way and make this into a black and white photograph. And I'm going to crop it quite severely because there are a couple of areas in here that I find just a little bit distracting. And probably the easiest way to do that is just to crop them out. So I've opened up the image in Lightroom, and we'll just go to the develop module here. We'll just get the simple things out of the way first. Chromatic aberration profiles. As far as details go, I don't think we need any noise reduction in this image. It's a very clean image. The exposure is great. And let me just zoom in here. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, and then we go up to basic here. Now I'm just going to turn this into a black and white. And I'm going to crop this to a square. And the part that I find a little distracting is this bit here. We want our eye to go all the way down into here. So I'm going to crop that out. I love this branch over here that leans out. I'll bring it up to the edge as far as I can go. Maybe something like that. Something like that. All right, now then, I'm going to go really overboard with this and make it into something that make it very moody. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the radial tool, and I'm just going to reduce this size of this, and I'm going to bring the radial tool. I'll start off with the center like that. The feathering I'll bring down just a little bit, and I'm just going to bring the exposure way down, so it's really dark. Now, if you look at the histogram here, you can see that the shadows are too dark. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dehaze it a little bit. Oops, sorry, wrong way. So it kind of flattens those blacks out. And I'm also going to bring the blacks, so they're kind of a muted black. And actually I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. That's a bit too dark. Something like that. And then from here, I'm going to grab another radial filter. This time I'm going to bring it to the center here. Invert this. And again, I'm going to bring some dehaze in there like this. And I'm also going to brighten this up. So we'll just zoom in here. Now I don't want to lose all of these trees, but what we can do is we can brighten up the whites. That's a little bit too bright. Just to the point where it's just going to get overexposed. The highlights, let's bring those whites down again. something like that. And then I think I'm going to give this a little bit of a tone. So let's have a look what we have back here. Aged photo. Split tone. The split tone looks really cool. Sepia I really like. Selenium. Infrared. Soft. I think I'm going to go with the split tone on this one. I really like that effect. I hardly ever do any kind of split toning or black and white for that matter. So this is all an experiment to me. If you don't like what I've done, then that's totally fine. I just thought I would try something radically different or a departure from what I usually do. I think also, let's just go back into these. Okay, this I'm going to bring in just a little bit. Yeah, something like that. That's the thing with Photoshop and Lightroom is that you know, there are so many different options, and I think sometimes that becomes a bit of a problem for people because there's just too many things to think about and choose. And if you don't have kind of a bit of an idea of what you want to do, then it can be a little bit overwhelming. If you have somewhat of a bit of a plan, you don't have to plan everything out, but just a bit of an idea of where you want to go with this, an image, then that really, well, it helps me for sure. And there's nothing wrong with going into these programs and trying all kinds of different sliders, trying different ways of sharpening and anything like that to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work. All right. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up in Photoshop, and we'll just do a few tweaks on it, and then it should be done. All right, now I've opened this up in Photoshop, and I'm just going to go up to adjustments here and grab a levels. Just want to see where we're at with the levels here. You can see it's heavily shadowed on the left side and not so many bright areas except for in here on the right side. Let's bring up that a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to zoom in on the on this bit here. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of dodging and burning, mostly dodging just in this area here, just to create a little bit more separation. So let's just go to layers, and we'll grab a new layer down here on the right side, go up to soft light, and B for brush, and we're just going to grab a warmish color, kind of like we already have, and just make sure that we're on 10%. If you hit the number key on your keyboard, so 1, you'll see that it goes up to 10% there. I'm just going to adjust the size of the brush here, keep the hardness to 0, we want it really feathered. And I'm just going to paint in this little bit here. Something like that. I really like how this warm light kind of pulls you in That's why I instantly liked the toning here. And I'm just going to create another layer here. But this time we're going to go for more of a blue color. Something like that. And I'm just going to dodge this just a little bit. Just around here. Down here a little bit. That might be too much. Yeah, it is. Okay, so rather than go back on that, I'm just going to bring the opacity down just a tad. Something like that. And then one last layer here. This time I'm going to be burning in some areas just down here on the side here, this yellow. Something like that. Okay, I've gone a bit too much on this bit here, so we'll just press X. And I'm just going to paint on this tree here. Oops. There we go. And a little bit on here. Oops. Okay. That looks good. And last but not least, I'm going to put a bit of Gaussian blur in here just to make it look a bit more kind of surreal and moody. So the way we do that is we just make a duplicate layer of everything that we've done. On a Mac, it's Shift Option Command E, and on a PC, I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I always forget the keys that you use on a PC. I should really know it, but I can't remember. Okay, and we'll just go up to filter up at the top here. You can't. It's probably out of the recording screen. You go to filter and just go to blur, Gaussian blur. 40 looks pretty good. And we're just going to bring that down to about 17%. And then from there, I'm just going to grab brightness and contrast. Click on this little box here with the arrow that's kind of has a strike through it. Click on that so that this adjustment only affects this layer. And just going to play around with the brightness just a little bit and the contrast. There we go. And I'm just going to group those together. So Command or Control G. And I'll put a mask on that. B for brush. And I've got it with 50%. I'm just going to erase that Gaussian blur from the outside of the frame here. there we go. And that's it. F, F, and there's our image. Let me know what you think. Like I said, this is something new for me. I don't often experiment, but I'm experimenting with someone else's photograph, and I kind of like it. It's a bit of a departure for me, but now and then it's good to change things up from what you're used to doing. So anyway, let me know what you think, or let Alistair know what you think. All right.